Hey everyone, I'm Jerry at jch.app. With Mint going away, I want to talk about the top questions I ask myself when I think about spending and come up with a simple design to answer them. If you want to play along with this demo, feel free to upload your Mint or Personal Capital transactions over at jch.app. To get started, let's talk about the questions I want to answer. I want to know how much I spent in a given month, or last month, or really any time period. Within that time, I want to know how much I spent in different categories, like food, or travel, or my cute little Honda. And I want to know things like what were some of the most expensive transactions? What were some questionable transactions that I want to review? Any mistakes in the transactions, and the totals and percentages for my spending. To see my transactions for a given month, I started out with a timeline. So I would group my April transactions in a section with their descriptions and their amounts. And here's what I would spend in March. And with this grouping, you can see how we could get a total for each month in each section. If I wanted to see older transactions, all I had to do was scroll down to get to last year or the year before. To tell the different categories apart, I added some colors and icons to visually distinguish them from one another. And once we have that, you could also see we could add different categories down below. So in addition to being able to see how much we spend each month, we can answer questions like, how much did I spend on my kid in March? A couple of things that I didn't like about this design was having a complicated nested list here. It felt unwieldy and it took up a lot of space. The other problem was jumping to older transactions could take a while. What I liked about this design was the ability to see monthly spending side by side or category spending side by side. But the problem was if you have a big month of spending, then it would push the month back anyways. So how can we do better? To answer that first question again of what I spent this month, let's just start with a plain tab. And if I wanted to see last month, let's have another tab. Just like before, I have the total for the month up at the top. We can add a few transactions back in here and their totals. To see how much I spent in each category, I wanted a way to look at things as percentages. So I had this summary bar that would show you the percent of each category. And when you clicked on it, it would expand and show you the totals for each category. The nice thing about this was it also doubles as a navigation for filtering the list. So for example, if I wanted to see how many transactions and how much I spent on the red category, I would click there and it would filter the list below and update the subtotal on top. The problem with this was too many categories made this section very cluttered and not very useful. What I decided to do was to bring that category section down as a filter in a sheet below. Having it down here means that this drawer or sheet can slide and hide away when you don't need it, but when you open it, you have a lot more vertical space to show both the name of the category, but also the icon next to it, making it a lot easier to work with and reason about. Just like above, you can still see the subtotals for each category, and we can sort this list so that the biggest spending categories are on the top. And like before, we can still use this to filter the list if we click on the different category names here. The last piece I wanted to add was a simple sort toggle. So we can sort by the filtered transactions, and also a little search bar if we wanted to look for a specific transaction. Going back to my original list of questions, I can definitely see how much I'm spending this month. I can filter my spending by particular categories. I can sort things, I can see the totals, and I can basically organize the transactions how I want to. So that wraps up my simple design for answering my top spending questions. Again, if you want to try this out, you can upload your transactions over at jch.app. And if you have any other questions or feedback on this design, I'd love to hear about it. Send me an email at jerry@jch.app.